daily dose of Big D energy.
Well, you want energy? We got energy for you today on this Tuesday. I'm Matt Shepard filling in for Neil Roll.
Big D!
Big D, man.
Winning. Playoff edition.
D-Mac, baby.
With the W. First time ever Big D in it with a win, Spenny.
Let's go.
I cannot believe how long it has been. I mean, we can use numbers all we want. You put it in perspective better than anybody has. You weren't even in the NHL the last time the Lions won a playoff game.
That is true. I was drafted to the Detroit Red Wings in 1992. The summer, played in Adirondack. Remember watching the Lions win that playoff game. And then I didn't make my debut till the October of '93.
Adirondack. So, more people remember Adirondack as a bat than they do that it was a Red Wings affiliate.
Yeah, but great spot. Shout out to Dangos and Poopies. Yeah.
All right.
Those are the spots down there. The breakfast spot and the bar life spot. Spenny, you would have done damage at both.
Oh, I like it.
Greasy Spoon and Poopies in the morning and Dangles till 4 a.m., baby.
What about Gentry? Would he have done the same?
Gentry? Yeah, be at low key, though. Right?
Under the radar?
Low key Gentry would be there, but he'd pop in and out. He's sort of an enigma.
Yeah.
He's got that ninja dust on him.
That's fair.
We yesterday, Lindsey Hunter and I talked obviously a full 2 hours on this. He has been here for a good 30 years, so he's really a Detroiter. You are too. What's it mean to you?
Well, I always consider it different, and when you hear me talk, whether Michigan or Detroit, I'm their favorite stepson. I don't care what it is because I grew up across the border.
Yeah.
My house, give or take 10 minutes for the border to Joe Louis Arena, was 40 minutes. There's people in Flint and in the suburbs and stuff like this that my house was closer.
Yeah.
So I grew up a diehard. Everybody who knows me knows that all I ever wanted to be was Lance Parrish until I realized that, 14 years old, I couldn't hit a curveball, but I could punch people in the face real good. So we made the right choice, Steph. Right. But it means everything like it means to everybody else. When we talk about Wing Wheel Nation or we talk about, Lions or whatever, it doesn't matter where you're from, right? You come here, the best part, and I think Lindsay can attest to it, and this goes to not only me that grew up close, but any of the guys that adhere themselves to this community. Look at our Red Wing organization. Look at all the guys that are still in the organization that live locally, right? Everybody sort of comes back, and we all have that pride. We're the biggest. What is cool about Detroit is that the sports fans, the celebrities, the musicians and that, we all cheer for each other, and we're lucky enough to become friends. For different things, whether it's the Jeff Daniels and Dave Couliers or the M&Ms and the Trick Tricks and Kid Rocks and Bob Seegers and, stuff like that. I think that it's something good. And the resilience. Like, look at right now, Shep. I mean, I don't know about you. Spenny and I crossed the road together. I almost wanted to, huddle up with them because even crossing Woodward, it's a polar vortex out there. But we persevere. Everybody perseveres. And the fact that, you know what? It ain't that cold living off of friggin' playoff victory from our football team.
Yeah.
Right? We're all in the same play. We're it doesn't matter how old you are. And it's really cool because you and I have experienced success in this city. Right? Reporting on our Wings run, the Pistons run, the Tigers who came up short. But we've had excitement. But we've never known it for the most part, right? With the Lions. So for me, the other day, the live stream was hopping, the post-game show and stuff, but to be around all these kids, I call them kids because they're, in their 20s and stuff like that, and to see how much it means to them too. And they haven't really experienced, right? A lot of them were too young in the 90s, but now they're not. Now they've experienced life, so we're all in. One of the things that I wanted to touch on is if you saw, my favorite thing to watch is the post-game locker room after the win. Dan Campbell addressing.
Yeah.
And the way that he gave 2 game balls out, one to Brad Holmes and one to Jared Goff. Yeah. And just the way he said, you know what, I'm so happy for Jared Goff.
But the emotion that Brad Holmes showed too.
In the elevator and stuff like that?
I thought that was pretty special. But so you bring up Jared Goff. It's interesting. I just came from the gym. I was talking with somebody, and we were talking about quarterbacks. I don't think there's any position. You could almost make the argument, I don't think there's any profession other than quarterback that creates more debate and more emotion in our life. Maybe politics, maybe religion, but I think overall, I mean, you want to create a conversation and a good debate right away, you start bringing up quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm glad you brought up Jared Goff. You know, before we dive back into that, you know what it's like to captivate a town. You were part of, whether it got old for you or not, the grind line was synonymous with Detroit.
100%.
The going to work guys were synonymous with Detroit. That 1968 Tigers team, synonymous with Detroit. This football team plays a lot like your line did,
100%,
like the Pistons did in going to work. Not to take anything away from any of the other world championships that they own. What would you tell Lions players about them affecting Detroit sports fans' psyches and emotions and passion?
See, here's the one thing, Shep, is that, and you know this too, because you've covered sports enough, is that when we talk about the culture and the Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and to the extension Rod Wood and Sheila, their self-awareness is to who they are and what they want in that locker room, right? Whether it's coaching, management, players, they're all on the same page, right? I always go back to Dan Campbell saying 3 years ago, the fact that I realize that I have to prepare this team and Brad Holmes as if every starter of mine goes down. And what am I going to do? To your point about the grit is the new grind line.
Yeah.
Right? The grit is the 20, 30 year later, the grind line, because it's the same thing. And as a fan base, we buy into it. Why? Because right now, today, hopefully people are listening to this or wherever they get their sports information. But it's something, they're out there fighting the cold. You know, half the people listening are bundled up doing something outside. This is they're
working
back
people
to work.
too. Yeah.
Their grit, their grind line. That's just to me the grit. Because, and here's the one thing: when the grind line stepped on the ice, when the going to work Pistons stepped on the court, we represented. We took pride. You know this to a fact, right? Didn't matter how I felt or whatever. It was about that guy had to punch the clock, you know, for the midnight shift that was going to sacrifice because we had to play out west and because the top guys couldn't get it done until overtime, 5 overtimes, we'd eventually get it done. But people sacrifice all their sleep. There's a commitment to it, right? Fortunately, with this Lions, it's a little bit better, although some people probably lost some sleep, but gladly would. But to me, it's the identity. Culture is the identity. They know who they are. We're not getting sold a bill of goods of here we are, this is it, you know, look at here. No, we are really this. They are what they preach.
So that's your definition of culture, the identity, right?
The identity of, when you look in the mirror of your team, right? Do you see what you're showing the fans? Or are you trying to smoke and mirrors and show them something different? What did we just see? What are the conversation, you know, to two of the teams that were supposed to vie for the championship this year, and the Packers and the Cowboys, or not the Packers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, stuff like this. There's something culturally wrong with the, right? There's something that's not there. When you look at
Definitely
Detroit,
in Dallas. I would say definitely in Dallas. I don't know about Philadelphia. I'm not going to go so far to say that about the Eagles because they were in the Super Bowl a year ago. They did start 10-1 this year. Everybody thought Jalen Hurts was the MVP, and everybody said they had the best offensive line in all of football. And then suddenly their offensive line caved. Hurts started to making turnovers. Nick Sirianni became suddenly really stupid, and Philadelphia is out earlier than anybody expected. So I don't know about Philly, but I would say Dallas for sure. When you get bounced,
let's get Matt Patricia as our DC.
Yeah, I think
call him play like that is so karma. And here's the other one thing too. And I saw Matt Neville passed the chat thread, woodwardsports.com join, where he said, all you Jalen Carter nut huggers now.
Well,
that's Jalen Carter is a prime example about you might have the talent, but you're not part of the culture.
But it's a really hold on. And I think that's a really smart point because I thought about that too when Jalen Carter, when I was watching the game last night. However, and I don't know Jalen Carter. I didn't even want Jalen Carter. All cards on the table. However, you're going to blame him for their loss, number one. Number two, their culture.
I'm not blaming him. I'm stating the fact that he's not a Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Detroit Lion locker room culture guy.
Exactly.
Forget the fact that he is uber talented, and I'm not blaming anything on them.
Yeah.
I'm saying that for all you guys that said we didn't make the right pick in trading and getting Jameer Gibbs and Jack Campbell and the way that it played out, eat a bowl.
Yeah.
Eat a bowl because you're wrong.
Point.
Because you know what? In a results-driven league, these are the results that you've been given. So the fact that I'm sitting up here telling you guys, yeah, he's uber talented, but something wasn't right for moving forward in here.
Right. They knew it. They knew it wasn't the right fit for what you were talking about with your culture. I think it's a great point. And I'd like to know where all the talking heads are to say today, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. You don't see that. You never see that. How many people love Jameer Gibbs?
I do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How many people loved him when they were drafted him? Nobody.
No.
I'm sorry. Nobody said, that's my guy. These guys do their work. They know what the hell they're doing. They deserve a little bit of trust in what we have with when we watch them make their picks and acquire certain talent. Good for them.
And here's to the defense. See, like Neil and I will sit up here and be Brad Holmes slaps and the fact of what, like, I understand why they didn't want guys. Some guys like Jameer Gibbs, you had to show me, okay, what were you talking about? It took a little bit of time. But, you know, the fact when they needed him the most this season, when David Montgomery went down, when did he have his breakout game? Now you look at these two. What I love is you see these two on camera on the bench. We're the best running duo in the league. Not even question. Right. I think David Montgomery was talking to his mama on TV, saying, "Mama, me and this guy," because they figured it out. The identity. That's the identity.
That's
that
the
two-headed
identity.
monster, thunder and lightning.
Right.
And we saw that. What did we also see? What I saw was both sides of the ball under self-awareness and not being the smartest guy in the room. Yeah. We ran the ball. Yeah. We used our offense. We protected Jared Goff. God forbid. I said to Spenny during the live stream, Goff is just like picking him apart early and whatever. You look at his totals when he wasn't pressured or when he got to stand up, he was 22 for 22 or whatever. And I said to Spenny, I go, that guy right there, is that a $50 million guy? And he said no. And then I said, is he a $50 million guy if it doesn't cost you? Because I get why Spenny and the rest of the people don't want Goff to be a $50 million guy because you don't want to lose anybody else. But if I guaranteed that Brad Holmes could do what other teams do and keep everybody and it ended up where Jared Goff made $50 million, you wouldn't have a problem with it.
Correct. I think with, we can get into that a little bit later on. I think that all depends. If he's not a $50 million guy, who is... Who do you want to play instead? I mean, this is the debate I had with somebody at the gym earlier today. We'll dive into that here in a minute. But what you were saying about Gibbs and Montgomery, the big knock on that people were giving Brad Holmes when he drafted Jameer Gibbs was, we already got a running back. And I always laugh at that because what you said earlier, you talked about you got to go into your season like every guy's going to get hurt. And you got to be prepared for guys in case they do get hurt. So much as we like David Montgomery, is he a guy who's going to play every down of every game? Well, he can now because you have Jameer Gibbs and you have a 1-2 punch in that regard.
And
I think it's been a brilliant strategy by the Lions.
There's certain times, Spenny, how many times do we say, right? How many times do we say, oh, man, like, there's certain packages where it's the Gibbs package. And you know what? Where do they use Jameer Gibbs a lot the most? On the outsides in the swing pass game. But it gives, different looks. Most teams, their running back has to do all that. We have two guys to do that.
I think the thing I like most about this team is I don't give a crap what other people say. We're going to go about this. We built it the way we thought we should build it. We play the way we think we should play, and players play for one another. I think it's a beautiful concept and culture, to your word, that they have built down there.
What do I always say, Shep? The key to a team and to winning, in my opinion, from my experience, is when the guy next to you is more important to you than you are to yourself.
It's beautiful.
And that's what we're seeing down there. Where else, You know what else is second most important? Where you get your hair done. Of course, come to Lady Jane's for Haircuts for Men. For an award-winning haircut experience, you can register to win a trip of your dreams. All expenses paid suite to the 2024 NCAA basketball tournament. That's right. No expense spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off the press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Dreaming of a new home but feeling the financial pinch? Mark White & Associates, your trusted real estate experts, are here to help. Mark White and his team will pay up to $5,000 to your closing costs. That's right, I said $5,000. Call Mark White & Associates today at 248-290-8242 or visit them at markwhitesells.com. Again, call Mark White today at 248-290-8242 to make your dreams come true. Now, back to Shep and D-Mac.
What do you think about the matchup?
Which one?
Tampa wins last night over Philly. Did it surprise you, number one? And if so, in what way?
No, because the question mark, and I think the big thing was A.J. Brown being out, Jalen Hurts having that bum finger and stuff, and just the utter downfall that Philly was in. The fact that they didn't play a home game, and the fact they had to go to Tampa, and you know what? They let Baker sort of be Baker last night, especially early. And then, the big thing is that Tampa defense is legit. We faced them already this year down there, so you have some tape on them and stuff like that. But, I like the matchup.
Okay.
Right? Here's my immediate thoughts. All right, Godwin or Evans can go for 200 yards, but not both of them. Or not combined. Like one of these receivers is going to go off, Shep.
Yeah.
Right? And it's
like
the bend but don't break. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, like CeeDee Lamb did for Dallas.
CeeDee Lamb did, Nakua did, Justin Jefferson always does.
Yeah.
Like, that's, if you understand that that's your bend, and you look at the way that even Tampa last night, how they worked the middle of the field with their tight ends and all the different stuff. So again, it's that preparation. Did I think, at the time the defense got the stops or held them to 3 when they needed to, obviously. So I think it's a good matchup. I probably want, because of the talent level of the fact that we beat them earlier, I would like Tampa to play. The struggles in Philly weren't bothering me, but the fact that having Philly in a dome with a healthy A.J. Brown and stuff, I'd rather play Tampa.
Isn't it amazing that sports, things can change so quickly with Philadelphia? 10-1, okay? They had stubbed their toe at the Jets after starting 5-0. They're 10-1 going to San Francisco. Nick Sirianni was considered, the second coming of Bill Belichick. Jalen Hurts was the MVP. The offensive line was the best offensive line in all of football. That's what we heard. It's the team to beat. How are you going to go through Philly? They're on a mission. And suddenly, they lose to Frisco. They get blown out by Frisco. They get blown out by the Cowboys. They lose a stunner in Seattle, okay, where Drew Lock, I believe, started. They barely get by the Giants. Then they fall to the Cardinals and the Giants again. and everything is in an uproar, and rightfully so. You know, it's amazing that a team can go to a Super Bowl and people feel like the momentum's going to carry over, and it sure looked like the momentum was carrying over. 10-1 start, best in football, and then the wheels fall off. Sometimes it shows you just don't know about a team.
Well, here's the one thing too. When you look at Philly and you look at the panic, right at 10-2, 10-3, losing, they changed coaches, they changed DCs, all this stuff.
Was it desperate?
To me, it's self-awareness. That just tells me inside the organization, at the top, more fragile than what we were seeing, right? Because I relate back to. Do you remember what happened when this team a few years ago was 1-6? Who came out and said, nope, everything's cool. This is part of the plan,
Sheila.
right? Sheila.
Yeah.
Sheila. When did she get her flowers?
Yeah. I said that yesterday.
Dude, I said that 2 months ago?
Yeah.
I mean, they showed Martha on the big screen. God bless you, Martha.
She deserves a lot of credit.
When did Sheila come out there and they should have? Did you see the replay? And I love this, right? Yeah, and that's Spenny. That's on Spenny's short list, Sheila. But the fact is, when Goff was coming out for warm-ups, and he alluded this to his interview with Dan Miller, that he couldn't hear the fans, but they were yelling Jared Goff all the way throughout till he hit the field and stuff like that. Sheila needs to come out before the game, next game. Because what did she say? She said, no, we're 1-6, but it's part of the process.
Yeah.
So to me, when you look at, and yes, Shep, you don't take anything away from going to the Super Bowl finals. But what does it tell me is that things were a little bit more on shaky ground, organizationally at the top, the coaches to the ownership, right? Like not as solidified because you're gonna take a beating, right? You're supposed to go to San Fran, and maybe that's your wake up call, or your Dallas or whatever, but then you're supposed to snap out of it.
Yeah, that's
that experience.
That's a good perspective. I never looked at it like that. So, I did say this yesterday, and Spencer, I think, agreed with me. There was a time, remember, when it was September of a couple of years ago when Calvin Johnson was being introduced, right? And she came out, and people booed her lustily.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
Well, no, that's okay. But now those same people have to understand she's the big reason why this team is successful.
I think they do.
She believed in the people she had. She believed in Brad Holmes. She believed in Dan Campbell. There was a time where I'm not saying we overreacted. I'm just saying there was a time where everybody wanted Aaron Glenn fired. There was a time where people said the Dan Campbell grit comments, kneecaps comments, is an eye roll. It's a collective eye roll. Because they didn't believe.
Well, you
and
didn't
I understand
have
why
any
they didn't believe.
substance behind it.
Right.
You had the same thing that we'd gone through as Lions fans for 30 years, and it's the hope and the smoke and mirrors, and you telling me this.
Right.
So we were supposed to be skeptical. You always are. It's
Understood.
sort of like, it's sort of relationships, right? Whereas maybe you were treated some way in one relationship, and now you're sort of treated better, and you wonder why that is. And it goes to the biggest thing is self-awareness, and they're on point, and that's all we can ask as fans. So now, for anybody that I don't blame anybody that had to wait until now. Show me it's different, right?
Yep.
If everybody was hanging on to the same old lines until they won a playoff game. Now you could throw it out. Even the staunchest critic.
I get it. Yeah.
Right?
I'm the same way.
The process.
I think the word I use is trust all the time. People didn't trust them. Let's look at the Red Wings for a second. Everybody trusts Steve Yzerman. They do. Why? Because he did it in Tampa, and because he could have been the governor of this state when he played. I mean, it's as simple as that. Nobody in the Lions organization had ever created the trust with the fans until now.
Yeah, but because you had two brand new guys, and Brad Holmes doing a job for the first time as GM, proving himself, and Dan Campbell coming out, and you can understand as sort of aggressive or self-aware. They're not. Everything that they told us is exactly where we are right now.
Yeah.
Of why they did things and why it would pay off in the long run. And so it's enjoy. This week right here, as we get prepared, and you get to the second round, you've done everything. We call it the Booner Path is in full effect right now. But here's the one thing. This Detroit Lions team, they expect to be here. They're getting comfortable in these positions, in these situations, especially controlling it at home in front of their fans.
Yeah, I said this the other day. I don't know why anybody should be surprised, considering they had the second most wins in the NFL. I think sometimes we forget about that. We're like, oh, we're a 3 seed and we really deserve the 2. We were so focused on what we should have had, we forget what they've already done. San Francisco is the 1 seed. They're really effing good. But you know what? People in San Francisco, people in Dallas until they lost, people in Philadelphia, people in Tampa, the national people, you know what they're saying? That Lions team is really effing good, man. They really are.
Well, they come into play. And it goes back to what we started the show with is that grit and the identity of this team, right? To a man. You know, it's playing hard. It's of their coach. That no more poignant comment than his first one about we're going to take kneecaps.
Yeah.
What are they doing right now?
Yeah.
They're taking kneecaps, and they're not done, folks.
What do you like about the matchup with Tampa? We're getting a lot of people in the chat. Bring on the Bucks. Good matchup. It's a team that blitzes, I think.
You going to let Baker Mayfield end your season? I don't think so. That's bottom line. I don't care what it is. Baker Mayfield's got bad ribs. He's got a bad wheel, whatever like this. He needs to be put on his ass. Philly made it too easy on him last night and stuff like this. Are you, the Detroit Lions and their fans, going to allow Baker Mayfield to take you out? That's the only question. And we all know the answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, this team, the Lions are favored, and rightfully so. Personally, I don't think it's close. I think Detroit will blow them out. I really do. I think sometimes you just have to look at who's the better team and how they're playing. And I think if that's what you do, if you look at this objectively, I try to be objective in everything. Sometimes I let my heart get in the way. I'll admit it. I did it in '95. I've told you that story. But objectively, if you look at it, you say, you know what? Who's better? And it's not that Detroit beat them 20-6 earlier this year. It's just who's the better football team? There's no doubt who the better football team is. Not based on wins, not based on head-to-head, based on overall performance. Who's the better football team? The Detroit Lions.
Do the old school match up position to position. Mm-hmm. Right? And you're going to lean that you favor.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to lean that you favor, so you have to like this matchup. A lot of times, man, it's the path. Right? And if you would have said that, hey, you win this game, you play Tampa next round, is that not the easiest path that you could have had,
for sure,
so to speak? Right? Just like Spenny, the easy path if you want to get a beer, some food, watch a game of any course.
Maybe some of that smokehouse brisket mac and cheese.
Yeah, how about bringing it in here?
Bring it in. Hey, we can bring it in here.
Well, let's go.
If you guys want it, all you got to do is go to Hamlin Pub. Hamlin Pub is where everyone is treated like a regular. Head to one of Hamlin Pub's 7 locations for the best spot to enjoy the game. Whether you're enjoying half-off pizza on Thursdays or game day specials available during all Michigan sports and NFL games, Hamlin Pub is the place. Visit a location today and experience your new favorite pub for all things sports. It's Hamlin Pub, where everyone's a regular.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
Planet Fitness, you can get energy without the judgment.
Hi, can you help me with this?
You don't know how to use it?
This is better.
Join now through January 12th for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Never intimidating, always free fitness training and equipment for every workout. Join today during the Big Fitness Energy Sale for 24 cents down, $10 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends Friday, January 12th.
Over 50 Metro Detroit locations.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Chevrolet, Detroit's #1 Chevy dealer with 18 locations, is a Feldman dealership in your backyard. Visit feldmanauto.com to find the nearest location to you. Since 1996, Feldman Automotive has been driven to provide fast, convenient, and first-class car buying experiences called the Feldman Advantage. Catch Woodward Sports Network live from Feldman Chevrolet of Novi every other Monday. It's Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. Now back to Shep and D-Mac.
I know Darren McCarty and Lindsey Hunter yesterday and Braylon Edwards last week with me. I know you guys don't like talking about yourselves, but I do have to ask you. I remember covering you guys during that incredible stretch. The thing that I noticed most about your championship teams was not just sometimes we overuse the word aura, but the confidence that you had. It's like every single day, whether I was at practice or after a game, I noticed you guys felt, it was undaunting. There's no way that other team's going to beat us. Every once in a while, it's going to happen. You're not going to go 82-0 in hockey. You're not going 17-0 in football, unless you're the Dolphins in 72. But my point is, there is a feeling that I think even permeates outside a locker room when you watch an elite team perform. How do you notice any of that characteristic with the Lions today?
It's moments. It's getting through different things. Ours was like when you say that, I ask you, was this pre-March 26, 97 or post?
I would say even pre, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Because it was still learned. To us, March 26, 97, the fight night at the Joe, the Lemieux thing, winning that game.
T-shirt. Yeah.
And the whole Red Wing, like, wing-wheeled nation, not just in the team, but especially in the team. Yeah. It's that it's going to be all right. That deep breath, don't know what it means, it's going to be all right. That was, like, for us, the galvanizing of we weren't too European, we weren't too right. Like, that was the one where we had each other's backs, and it was so, you know what I'm saying? That galvanizes your team, too.
Okay, yeah.
Now, in football, it's different ways. I think the biggest galvanization is set in history. Like, for bringing something that hasn't been done in generations, in decades, right? So this Lions team, like you said, can separate themselves from all the rest in the past by just winning this first game.
Okay.
Now it's are you set up? Was it, because to me, winning that first playoff game and hosting it, that wasn't the Super Bowl to them. Obviously not to the fans, but sometimes when you're trying to overachieve, you see that teams get complacent. We're not complacent. There's a path here, the Booner path, so to speak.
Booner path.
But the fact is, they know right now it's legitimate, right in front of them. So you got to take this. Like, for us,
they
back
know
in the
they're
day,
good. They
we
know they're
own
really
teams.
good. Right.
We own the Chicagos and the St. Louis's and the Phoenix, Arizonas, and so even to that point, Dallas and stuff like this, right? Colorado was the only one that we knew was going to be a heavyweight tilt back and forth, but everybody else, you had that confidence because you had that sort of history. So to us, it's sort of like those moments, but it's learned. And for us, we learned by what? Losing. You know, you mentioned during the break, you said, do athletes really, like, say Baker Mayfield's not going to cost, me this? And I'm like, absolutely. Arthur Zerbe in 02 wasn't. And then you said, well, he did in 93. And I said, yeah, we were young and we weren't going to let it happen again. So he got us with San Jose and didn't get us again.
Right.
But to that point, yes. And usually it's because I'll break it down, and I don't know in football if it goes like this, but I think because of matchups, right? I'd be matched up, and it'd usually be like the number 3 or 4 defenseman guy, right? That was my guy, right? Was it him or was it me, right? I was going to take his will out of this series, hitting him every time I got in his face, stuff like that. Now everybody else was going to get the equal opportunity, but I had to focus on that guy. So again, game plan, preparation. You mentioned, questions in our coaching. Does anybody have questions in this coaching staff? And I see it in the chat thread too. People, I don't care how many yards we give up. We're bend but don't break. I don't. It doesn't matter who goes off. That's sort of the thing. But when we need a stop, what happens? We hold them to 3, or we find a way to get a stop. Anybody talk about the biggest play, right, of the game was the Hutch holding call.
Yeah.
Because it pulled them out of field goal range, and then they were able to stop them on third down. But so Spenny, what did I say the other day? How many times did I say it? Big players make big plays in big moments. Who made your biggest plays in big moments? Hutch, right? Then you had C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Cam Sutton all over that ball, which if you want to go ebbs and flows, and I know back getting upset about the offsides late in the first half that we got called a false start where everybody, but we don't worry about the refs. If you want to go, did you see a little jersey tug at the end?
Yeah,
it evened out, right? And then who finishes it off? Shep. 4-minute drill, right? I know in football, because I hear that teams practice a 4-minute drill and a 2-minute drill. Right. You saw us execute that 4-minute drill by our 2. Who'd you put the balls in the hands of? Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right. Yep.
Those are statements. Those are, give me the, that's Fedorov, give me that puck.
Look, I love that. I really do. I would just say, I think there's a lot of people going, why the hell are you throwing the football to Amon St. Brown when you could basically run it, take a knee, and run it out? And I think it's basically Dan Campbell saying, you know what? Screw this. This is who we are. I am not going to deter from what we are, what we do, when we do it, and how we do it. And that's something that I love about him, too. It wasn't long ago where we were getting complaints about Dan Campbell going for certain situations, running fake punts, and doing things that fans didn't agree with. Because why? Because the Lions lost. What we have to understand and what we have to agree to is that this is who they are. This is their identity. This is what's made them successful. And at times, it's also a wart. Every team in every sport at every level goes through it.
Absolutely. And break down the game. What was one of the biggest, most crucial plays? 4th down, goal, and you go trips right, and who do you go to? The guy we didn't know who was going to play or not, or
Sam
whatever.
Laporta.
To me, that's huge too. You see Sam Laporta, and obviously being in there and stuff like that. Didn't tear the roof off. Had a touchdown catch, had a couple possessions, but his blocking, right, where you see that, it's. So the fact is, everybody's doing what they need to do to get on the field. They're not going to be deterred by the way that they do it, right? Dan Campbell isn't. Spenny, what do we sit here during the second half of the year and go, wow, the 4th downs aren't executing like they were last year earlier in the season. But it's not going to change from the way that he coaches. And it's all about execution. And what do? When we needed it, we executed. That's what you got to continue to do.
Yeah, the discussion about Goff and the discussion about this team and where it's at, okay? Well, we've talked about the matchup in Tampa. It's a team that blitzes 40% of the time, I believe, among the most in all the NFL. I don't see that being an issue. I mean, this is where Jared Goff's experience and this is where his knowledge and his football IQ really come into, because he and Frank Ragnow are calling everything at that line of scrimmage in an effort to protect him. So I'm not worried about that at all. I do worry about turnovers. I'm not afraid to say that. Like when he was shoveling that one away the other day against the Rams, it was concerning. It's so important to treasure the football. It's really the same in every sport, right? You want to treasure the puck in hockey. You want to treasure it in basketball. I get all that. But I think if you looked at the entire playoffs, and this goes back to me saying, look, they've won 12 games. We got to remember. I would venture to guess most people outside of Detroit are looking at it and going, I would guess Baltimore, San Francisco, Detroit. That's how good this team is. That's how fortunate we are right now. Does that mean they're going to win on Sunday against Tampa? No. But it does tell you what people think of what your football team is capable of right now. It's impressive.
No, it really is. And how can you not be in those conversations? As far as I would think that you're the odds-on favorite, you're the favorite at home, right? And stuff like this, but task at hand. But the fact is they're back to work. I think that you bring up that the fact that Frank Ragnow and Jared Goff and the fact that, Todd Bowles, you said this Tampa team, some of the best linebackers, you know, Winfield Jr. in the secondaries, all pro and stuff like this. They got players. But the fact is that, we got both our running backs are physical and they can pick up blocks. Our tight ends are some of the best blockers in the league and stuff like that. Yeah. So
and our wide receivers.
Well,
the wide receivers are really good blockers.
So to me, this sets up, look at early in that game, right? Early in this game, who was the key early in the game setting it up? Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
Right, Josh Reynolds was, and then they worked Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra just so quietly gets 80, 100 yards.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not going to change. Right? Because
that's what they're saying in Tampa right now.
They're going to put the linebacker on him. And
what did you say earlier? You said, look, Mike Evans is going to get his.
Yeah.
Right? People in Tampa right now, what are they saying? Like, Amon St. Brown's probably going to get his. Okay? They've got that double-headed monster as a running back in Montgomery and Gibbs. There is one guy who deserves a lot of credit, and I don't know if he's getting enough of it. We'll get into that when we come back.
But first, let me tell you about Premier Pet Supply. Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. Same prices and all the conveniences of the online and big box retailers with one major difference. They are locally and family owned and operated for 30 plus years. Over 60 brands of food with nutrition experts to help you. Same day, local curbside and home delivery. Premier Pet Supply. Give your pet the best. www.premierpetsupply.com.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Tired of wearing the same old Detroit sports merch? Well, you guys know where to go. WoodwardSports.com/shop. We got all the best Detroit sports wearables. We've got the winter hats. We've got the hoodies. It's cold. Go get some sports swag that you can wear out in these freezing temperatures. We got the Stoke Not Scared shirts. We got the Sun God shirts, home cooked meals, all the good stuff. Make sure you check out WoodwardSports.com/shop for the best merch you can get out in the Detroit sports game. Now, back to Matt Shepard and Darren McCarty.
Big D Energy here on a Tuesday. Gentry, did you tell everybody out there what you thought? Did you enjoy the game the other night?
What game? The Lions game?
Yeah, what game?
Well, I know you always go to me about Red Wings, so I didn't know if you were talking about that.
Lions.
You enjoyed that
Still
too, though,
Lions,
right?
buddy.
You enjoyed that against
Big
Toronto.
Toronto. They didn't let up the Lions game, but yeah, no. That Lions game was insane. The emotions were running, but man, it felt good to finally, reach that step, win that playoff game, and now everything's in front of them. You got to not an easy matchup, but a favorable matchup in Tampa Bay, and then who knows from there. So
here's a question for all you guys. Who's the guy who's changed your mind the most? As you watched this team progress, which player or coach changed your mind about them the most?
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Spending 100 million%
Gentry?
from being a Goff truther to speak to what are you now? You're still a truther, but
I mean, I put a tweet out there. I have my beliefs about him. I have my beliefs about that ticket price at the end of the contract, but I'll never say a bad thing about him for the rest of my life. He won us a division. He won us a playoff game. Only Lions quarterback in my life who's done that. I'll never say anything bad about him.
Is Shep aware of your tattoo bets
no,
to whatever? Is he aware of the ink that will go on, hence a Super Bowl?
No, if Jared Goff wins a Super Bowl with the Lions, I have to get a Dan Campbell face tattoo. I'm gonna get that, like Dan Campbell's face on on the back of my calf. I have to get grit across my stomach in like the Tupac script and 16 behind my ear.
Is this a bet with D-Mac?
With the chat.
Self-imposed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this has been going on. This is.
I hope you get it.
Last year, I had it last year. If they won the division last year, I was going to do it. But since they lost the division, I said we'll carry it over if they win the Super Bowl.
Most people spent taking it in stages. You're doing all three up one. That's interesting, and that shows you the passion that you have for the Lions. All right, Gentry, how about you?
No, I'm kind of in lockstep with Spenny. It's got to be Jared Goff.
It's Goff?
Yeah.
Okay. D-Mac?
You know what? I think to me, it's the linebacking core. It's the questions on whether it's the Anzalonis, the Barnes, the Campbell, like as a unit, right? The bend but don't break, and I know we've given it up, but as far as like the run defense, I mean, you had Kellen Williams come in here and you held him and shut him down. I don't expect it to be any different. So to me, I think it was the linebackers in the way that they've, improved the play from last year. It just seems that that's a big reason, for a lot of the run defense and different stops and stuff like that. So that they definitely got better. Now again, it's bend but don't break, but I think there's self-awareness of who they are. So in saying that, I give Alex Anzalone a ton of credit.
Yeah, I think for me, it's along those lines. It's Aaron Glenn for me. I think most people wanted him fired after last year. A lot of fans did.
And earlier in the year, there's talk about it.
And earlier in the year. And I think you've got to give him a massive amount of credit for the way that defense reshaped itself in the second half against the Rams. Matthew Stafford was kicking their ass. He was. Nakua was kicking their ass. They were doing what they wanted. They were moving the ball up and down the field. They did something to hold them, A, in the red zone, 3 times, and B, to 2 field goals in the second half. I think he deserves a massive amount of credit. He did it. Remember this. The Dallas Cowboys, and I know they're out of the playoffs, but let's face it, they were the 2 seed for a reason, all right? In other words, they won their division. They did something that was good enough, all right? Whether you believed in Dak Prescott, whether you believed in Mike McCarthy or not, they did something that is warranted, some credit. The Dallas Cowboys averaged 40 points per game at home this year. The Lions held them to half that. Aaron Glenn is the guy who implements the defense. Now, the defensive players deserve a massive amount of credit, too, to D-Mac's point, because why? Well, because they're carrying it out. And I get why you guys are saying Jared Goff. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I'm just giving you my take. Aaron Glenn has now thrust himself, I don't think it'll happen, but into head coaching conversations. That means he's done something pretty well. They've made the right adjustments when they've had to. Yeah. And I think he deserves a lot of tip of the cap.
You know what it goes back to? And somebody brought it up in the chat thread. players voted. Remember when the player poll came out and Aaron Glenn was number 1 for defensive coordinator amongst the players, and we were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
There's something there to it. But also, too, you know what? One time along this, and it goes back to the culture and it goes back to the attitude or whatever, it was always something that felt like if it wasn't going to work, it wasn't through lack of effort, that Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn and all the defensive guys would stay and spend time on, like, they've grinded this thing out. I bet you they have more sleepovers at Ford Field than anything else, especially right. Yeah. They're gonna work their way out of it, and I think it goes back to that grit we're talking about right throughout. The coaches are the ones that implement this and the hard work. So when you see your guy grinding, and to me it tells me what. Like, guys love Aaron Glenn.
I know.
Right? They love Aaron Glenn. And it just shows you by everything else. And when you have that belief in somebody, like they willed their way to get it done because they know the alternative. Again, it goes back to when your coach is more important to you than you are to yourself. It's the same thing.
And let me ask you this. Why does that matter? Why does it matter if players love their coach? And the reason I bring that up is because how many times have we heard players in the past support their coach and it didn't matter? Dak Prescott with Mike McCarthy, right? No, okay, just the other day it happened. Now it's probably going to be very beneficial for the Raiders, like Max Crosby has come out and said, and Devontae Adams has come out and said and supported Antonio Pierce. That hasn't prevented Antonio Pierce from looking for other jobs, number one. And number two, it has not pushed the needle for the Raiders to actually do the hiring of Antonio
don't
Pierce.
Use the Raiders as a blueprint to hiring people and what they do.
I'm not. I'm just using it as an example.
So fucked up. Shep, they're no. At the top with Mark Davis or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's so aloof. So you can't compare the fact that when everybody's on the same page, because everybody in that organization's not on the same page.
Okay.
So I guess
I'm using that as an example of players supporting their coach. That's all.
But in that situation, that doesn't matter because the owner's aloof to hearing what his player says or gives a shit about what his players. Some other owners or whatever love the process. To whatever else. To me, it'd be the GM. Like that's just the fact that Antonio Pierce, right? Where I said this when they started winning, right? Antonio Pierce, would you not say has sort of is the makeup of a Dan Campbell head coach, right? Going to motivate his players.
Seems like it.
Former player.
Yeah.
Going to be in there and stuff like that, right?
Seems like it.
If with what we saw with him taking over that organization. How do you ever let a guy go interview somewhere else? Because pretty much you're telling me, well, we're not sure. And, him and Ha. It's consistent with the Raiders organization. They did it to the last intern, who I'm not saying should have got the job. But the fact is that you're not listening. You're aloof. That's the difference between a winning organization and a losing organization. And I could say we're a winning organization now, right? Because it's different in that way. Yeah. So in that aspect, Shep, absolutely zero. But I'll tell you, in the Detroit, with the way that they're built and everybody on the same page, it does matter. One of the biggest advantages I've always said that Detroit has is that all their coaches, right, and assistant coaches and position coaches are former players. That holds a shit ton of credence. So I think it's just different situations. I would list if you're an owner, do you not listen to Devontae Adams and Max Crosby?
I would think so, but I think sometimes players are a little bit too emotional with it. I don't know about when you just said, look, it holds a ton of credence with players if you played before, which is ironic because the two latest Stanley Cups that you guys have won were with two guys who didn't play in the NHL. Scotty Bowman didn't play in the NHL. Mike Babcock didn't play in the NHL.
But they both different coaches.
Okay, well, I'm just, look, you said it. I'm using that as the example.
Yeah, but the assistant coaches were. So you got to have a buffer. See, all we needed, but again, you can't, see, our team's a Hall of Fame team. So you can't, you're not going to have a coach that, so ours is different.
Okay,
well, you can have that. Plus Scotty Bowman.
I know, but look, I remember having this conversation with Brendan Shanahan. And I said to him in the middle of your locker room.
I think in football it's way more important
all right, well,
than it is in hockey.
Okay, then there's your difference.
Yeah.
But I remember saying to him, just out of curiosity, you're a Hall of Fame player, all the things that you've done, and yet Barry Smith, who I like a lot, is telling you what you need to be doing.
Barry Smith is telling you what Scotty wants you to hear.
Okay, look, I'm just telling you the conversation, okay? And Brendan Shanahan said to me,
Shep, you don't use our locker room with Scotty Bowman, the greatest coach, psychologist, because you know how it ran.
Yeah.
We ran the fucking players ran that locker room. Barry Smith didn't tell you what to do. He suggested what Scotty wanted.
Okay. What I was going to say is Brendan Shanahan said, look, you can always learn something new every day from somebody, which I thought was a great answer. I really did. I worry sometimes. Like Pete Carroll's won a championship. He never played. Okay.
But what are you saying? Like
I'm saying I don't know how important that is
as an assistant coach.
No, Pete Carroll won it as a head coach in Seattle.
The bottom line. As long as you can relate to the player and have communication, whatever, nobody cares, doesn't look at you and go. It's when you're asking, because here's what you can't do, right? You can't go, well, when I played,
right?
Or using this situation, which a lot of time, the only time guys get upset, right, is when somebody who didn't play tries to act like they did or tell you how they did. Right. That's not from your experience because, no, here's the biggest thing, right? You see during the tenure of my career, what was the biggest difference? Video. Adding video and stuff like this. You never had a video guy or whatever. Now it's freaking computers on the bench and stuff like this. Yeah. So you need somebody that understands that. Do you think an old school guy that played? No, it would be a newer guy. So you're going to learn from that, from the video guy, or how you're going to want to break down. Bottom line, number one is communication.
For sure. And that's what Dan Campbell, according to most of his players, is one of his biggest strengths. A, he's real. B, they truly believe he cares about them. And C, he's one of the best, honest communicators they've ever played for.
He's genuine.
Right.
He's the same dude.
Yeah, that's why I say he's real.
I love that fact. Yeah. Right? It's the new age, and he's done it where it's like the transparency. What you see in that man is what you get. Right? Do you not believe he drinks 6 shots of espresso in his coffee every morning?
Absolutely.
I absolutely believe that.
Absolutely, I believe that.
If he tells me whatever.
I think this is very minimal. I love that he's at the podium packing a fatty. Mm-hmm. I think it's so kick-ass because you know what it tells me? It's not, look, you do it too. It's not that he's chewing tobacco or he's got a dip. It's the fact that that's who he is. Yeah. And he's not going to sacrifice who he is for all of us who feel like, oh, it's not right. You're not supposed to do that. What's the lesson you're teaching people? All those softies out there who believe everything's got to be Pollyanna. He says, screw you. If you don't like it, don't watch me. Don't listen to me. Don't look at me.
I liked it.
This is who I am.
I liked it when the MLB did the ban on chewing tobacco, but the players were grandfathered in. The next day, Justin Verlander had the fattest dip I've ever seen in his mouth in the dugout, just standing there.
Well, it's like, you know, we poke our nose in places. What's the big deal? Just if that's who they are, let them be who they are. For crying out loud.
That's the whole thing, and isn't that what you want out of your football coach?
Absolutely,
especially, right? Like it, you know, I get it if the president or, you know, some, right, like in front of whatever represent, but this is your football coach. This is what I want. I mean,
that
he's
would
gonna
be
get
classic,
fired up and swallow it half
That
the
would
time.
be classic, wouldn't it? If a president just out of curiosity. Anybody out there?
Before I respond to that,
or he's got a cup. You know how every coach has got some type of, you know, showcase in front because their press conference is sold to whatever power drink or whatever soft drink. You would love it if a coach just brought up an empty spit cup and just went.
Just a Lions sponsored. Maybe Planet Fitness wants to get on board, Spenny, and get the freaking mug with Dan, and it looks like he's going for the coffee, and it's and he spits it out.
That would be awesome.
Planet Fitness spitters, maybe.
Maybe they would
instead of the rock wall.
I'm not sure, but they definitely don't have a rock rock wall at Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is the home of the judgment-free zone where you can work out in a non-intimidating, judgment-free atmosphere. The gym that has always been known for being clean is now cleaner than ever. You can get a full-body workout in 30 minutes at a 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all that for just $10 a month, no commitment. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by, more than 50 in Metro Detroit, and thousands more throughout the world. Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new down-home comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The down-home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of down-home cooking. Enjoy every bite, only at Big Boy.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Over 60 years, Fairway Pack & Co. has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com. Fairway Pack & Co., the best meat you can get. Now, back to Shep and D-Mac.
I don't know if I love that commercial or hate it. I love it because the food looks so effing good. It looks so delicious. When you watch Ryan Ermanni in that commercial eating that steak, I'm jealous. Yeah. And I'm not jealous of Ryan for much. On the other hand, I hate it because when you read it, I want some of that grilled charcoal meat.
Well, Shep, I just here to report that as good as it looked, it's even better.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. Second hour of the program. He's D-Mac. I'm Matt Shepard. Spencer Raxter with us as well. He's our executive producer. Look, when we talk about the Lions in general, people feel like they have to learn to win. They've learned to win with certain players, right? And at certain levels. It's interesting how Taylor Decker was successful at Ohio State, right? Frank Ragnow was successful. Penei Sewell was successful at the collegiate level. There are guys on the defensive side of the ball who've won things. Aiden Hutchinson, for example, but not at the professional level. When do we differentiate? I mean, Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl, for Christ's sakes. Okay? When do we differentiate? When you've learned enough to make the next step, or why can't you do it knowing how successful you were at the previous level, whatever sport that may be, and carry it over into the highest level?
Because everything's changed. Your team's changed. Your league's changed. You know, everything else. So the answer to your question, Shep, is that's what winning's for. Winning's the barometer. You know, you can look into stats and stuff like this, and guys who don't win lean on stats, Sam Flannel. But the fact is, the bottom line is the W. You look at, don't tell me if you ask Jared Goff, right, did he draw on his experience from winning in the playoffs with the Rams and whatever? Yes, all that comes into it. What it takes is a special group of people to get the right group of people all around to buy into the same thing. The problem usually is that not everybody's on the same page. Then it comes the game. And no matter how talented you are, there's 60 minutes that ball goes around, and how many times have we seen guys drop it that never drop it? Mm-hmm. You know, guys throw interceptions or, you know, bad snaps, right? The game needs to be played then. But as far as winning's the only thing that teaches you to get to the next level. Now, losing is your lesson. And the lesson of what don't I do again? How do I change it for the better? Right? So the old adage is that you never lose if you learn a lesson.
Yeah.
So, but the bottom line is, Shep, you don't learn that lesson until you win together. So then I can look around that room or whatever and have the division shirt or look around the room and know exactly what I put in. Because this is accountability that I know in the locker room when I look around how much that guy has committed and put in to things that people don't see. Mm-hmm. You're all in or in the way. That's the one thing.
I like that.
You're all in or you're in the way.
Well, it's got to be more, to your point, and you just kind of touched on it. It's got to be more than just learning how to win. Otherwise, the Eagles would have done better this year than they did last year. Otherwise, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys would have learned their lessons and adapted properly. And if that's the case, then perhaps the Lions, if they beat Tampa, would be favored over either Green Bay or San Francisco, knowing that Brock Purdy does not have that type of experience under his belt, nor does Jordan Love.
Yeah, but how about the rest of the team? That's where the rest of the weapons and stuff will supersede whatever you think about one player. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. That's no. I mean, like what's the spread? It's got to be at least 6 if Detroit goes into San Fran. If Detroit end up going into San Fran. Yeah. Right? You look at the Lions this week. I think the Lions are 6-point favorite at home.
6-point favorites. I think Baltimore is the largest favorite, then San Francisco, then Detroit.
No, Baltimore's 9, San Fran's 10.
Oh, okay. All right.
And
so
then,
San Francisco,
Buffalo's
Baltimore.
2.5.
And then Detroit.
See, here's to your point. Okay. You know who is right there in the heat of it right now as we talk about this are the Buffalo Bills. Everything right now to what is built up to all those other years to the lessons and the decimation. You got Kansas City, who has to leave home for the Patrick Mahomes, first time in the Patrick Mahomes area. Here's the thing. The field advantage weather doesn't affect anybody. You're not going to have that Miami going into Kansas City warm weather team effect. This is the job. What Jared Goff had to do last week and the proof to get over the hump, that's where Josh Allen is right now. And this is like the biggest game. To me, playing Patrick Mahomes, and this is that test.
Who's knocked him out?
I'm not even looking at, I think, Buffalo, Baltimore for AFC.
Yeah.
This right here is his test. You look, Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia failed their test. And you know why that is because, yes, they won. Yes, they got there in the past 2 years and one of the best football teams. But somehow they didn't learn the lesson that was supposed to be learned, right? Our Lions team, whatever those lessons were, we learned them. And you nailed it down to the second half adjustments by the defense to hold Matthew Stafford, who threw it around Ford Field in the first half to 2 field goals in the second half.
Yeah.
Right? Same, all these little storylines and stuff like that's which we will come and see. Do you, right, all these question marks that we always have. What do we always say, Spenny? The Penn States, the Iowas, and the Cowboys, right? Yeah. Well, Buffalo's got to answer that question too.
Yeah, sometimes it comes down to talent too. You're right. Kansas City has knocked Buffalo out, 20-21. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs,
but
I believe.
But they played it in Kansas City. So now this is like, you know, in sports, and you've been around doing this enough, right? Where the tides... Now it's your turn, and it's right there. Now it's not going to be given to you, but it's leaning.
There's so many things that that I'm conflicted with, D-Mac, when I look at all these playoffs. So, for example, you know, it's tough to beat a team twice in the same year. Mm-hmm. Well, Buffalo went into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. Lions went into Tampa and beat Tampa, right? So if that's the philosophy, then a lot of people will probably be going, well, maybe it's not going to be as easy.
Do you throw that away when I'd
know.
like to see when the second game, when you win the first one of the years won in the other team's building,
right,
and then you host the second game.
Right.
I think a lot of times as you win at home, where it's split, and then you got to go play on the road. So I would look at that, but no, I'm not worried.
I love the discussion about learning from winning and losing. I really do.
You learn more from losing.
It fascinates me and how it takes a team to a different level after they experience the heartache. And people will use Michigan as an example. It's probably a better example because most of those guys stayed together, right? So Michigan loses 2 straight years in the college football playoff. They obviously didn't learn enough from year 1 to beat TCU. In other words, they didn't learn enough from the loss to Georgia. They said they were going to be refocused. They play TCU. They let that get away. And then they use it for their first championship since 1997. I wonder if football teams, I wonder if professional teams in general look at it similarly in the sense of, you know what, we're going to take what we learned or what we did really well from one year, redefine it, and fix it the following year. Great story about Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers after they had lost to the Islanders in the Stanley Cup Finals. Gretzky and Kevin Lowe, who was a defenseman for Edmonton, were walking by the Islanders' locker room expecting to hear all kinds of celebration and hooting and hollering, right? And what they did see is they looked in and they saw these guys absolutely, completely spent. Like 100%.
Are you going to caveat this with, oh, by the way, this is after the Islanders just won their fourth in 4 years?
Yeah, I was going to.
So you know why you're spent?
Right.
Because you've played all those games and you're an older team and a veteran team.
Right.
And I'm going to ruin your story because the next year the Edmonton won and went on their 4 to 5 year run.
Right.
Right. So the fact is that, trust me, after. I can speak on this. After the 4th one, you're a little bit more tired.
Yeah.
Didn't stop us from celebrating.
Right.
Didn't stop us from getting insurance either, no matter what's going on outside. Hey, I told you this weather was going to get here. It was going to be cold. So make sure, like us here at Woodward Sports Network, you got your insurance in order. Whether it's home or auto, it doesn't matter. Swiss Insurance, my buddy Mark, I've been telling you about him. Give him a call, 248-800-4177, or go out online, Swiss Insurance, SwissINS.com. Give my buddy Mark a call today. He can help you out. Don't get caught in this bad weather.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
At Planet Fitness, you can get energy without the judgment.
Hi, can you help me with this?
You don't know how to use it?
This is better.
Join now through January 12th for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Never intimidating. Always free fitness training and equipment for every workout. Join today during the Big Fitness Energy Sale for 24 cents down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends Friday, January 12th.
Over 50 Metro Detroit locations.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off the press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Big shout out to Jack Labrador, my guys Dean and John pulling up to the watch party and bringing a bunch of food for the boys. They hooked it up. They gave us pizzas, chicken, fries, all this stuff, sandwiches. It was awesome. Shout out to them. And
I mean, it's lunchtime, and you're bragging about how Jack Labrador brings you food.
Oh my God!
It was a spread.
What a spread! MVPs of the party.
Yeah,
with
thanks
the
a lot for
Labrador
saving
brothers.
it. I appreciate you saving it. Yeah, we got a fridge back there. You could have saved some.
There's some in
they
there.
went home to my fridge.
R.I.P.
I'm still eating pizza from Sunday.
R.I.P. to the same old Lions, and big thanks to Sheila, Brad, and Dan for putting them to rest. And guess what else is found a grave? Same old rock, paper, scissors. Jack Labrador has revolutionized that entire game with 2 new symbols and a franchise-changing 3-point play. Discover the action at jacklabrador.gg now and find out once you go Jack, you never go back. Now, back to Shep and D-Mac.
It's kind of been an awesome last few weeks, hasn't it, in this area? Seriously, I mean,
football, dude.
if you look at
state, with Michigan and with
Yeah.
everything else.
So Michigan wins the national championship. You know, whether you like Michigan or not, it's good for the state. It's good for the conference.
Just out here, we go to Spenny when Spenny, like, right? Everything Shep's saying, I'm good for the state, good for everything else.
No,
you don't think so?
Lions victory's great. Michigan,
Well, I do. I mean, I think it's good for the Big Ten. I know he's a Spartan.
He's a diehard Spartan.
Yeah,
so.
look, my daughter's a sophomore at MSU. I root for MSU for sure in just about everything. So, same thing with Michigan, because my son went there and works for Michigan.
That's the Michigan booth.
And so you've got Michigan winning a national championship. You got the Lions' success. Well, this goes a little bit back further than a couple of weeks, but still, Patrick Kane signed with the Red Wings. Yeah. This has been a nice stretch for Detroit sports, the state of Michigan sports. It's as good as I've seen in the last 2 decades. Is that fair?
You're going to go just drop 2 decades. Wow. I was definitely in the last, since 2010.
Since 2004, I'd say 2006. The last cup, this is the best we've had it since the last cup.
Yeah. I think so.
But here's the thing you're talking about,
even the year after they won the cup, even when they got to game 7 against Pittsburgh, which I thought the Lidstrom shot was going in. I'll never forget that being there. That was still a hell of a run, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's been a nice run here.
Yeah, and what? Even the Pistons are making deals and stuff like that, moving stuff around.
Don't do
they're
that.
Trying to get. Don't forget about us.
Listen, don't do that, because we had 5 minutes to go in the show yesterday, and I brought that up to Lindsay, and people were livid about that. Who cares about the league? Who cares about the Pistons? Please talk about the Lions. I'm like, wait a minute. I care about the Pistons. I want the Pistons to do well. They did win a game yesterday.
That's for Juicy out there. They're trying to make moves and stuff. No, but. Yeah, I mean, even go back even more so. You added DeBrincat in the offseason. You added Kane. You know what I'm saying? Like, 2 legitimate snipers.
Yeah.
That are
exactly what the team needed.
That's the thing.
Right, Gentry?
It's progress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the excitement. You know, one of the things getting ready for this game on Sunday, Spenny, and I'm going to bring it up right now, James Houston, because it was brought up in the chat thread, and somebody said, I'll just put him on IR or whatever. What's he going to do? Are you under the impression, if he's healthy, I want him out there, because I think even if he 2 or 4, even if he plays 10 snaps, he's going to make a difference or be effective, don't you think? Like, he's the one guy, if he does 5 plays, he's probably going to have a sack.
Yeah, that's what he does. And it's really, we've seen that combination of a speed rusher on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson working very well. And with Hutchinson playing how he is now, he's got 7 sacks in the last 3 games. Like, you put James Houston next to him, he's going to be getting one-on-ones. I have the confidence that he'll be able to get to the quarterback at least once if you give him, like you said, 10 pass rushing snaps.
Absolutely. How about this one? I think Aiden Hutchinson should keep putting it in the universe that he never gets one of those fall down easy sacks like Stafford did the other day. Because like, low key, he's having a couple sacks, and you give him any help at all, I think it's a benefit. Now, spending for everybody out there that's not in the know, he has to be activated by when?
He has to be activated this week. I'm not sure exactly what day.
You have till the end of the week?
I think for the game, the 21-day window ends this week. I'm not sure exactly when, but it ends this week. So if he's not playing in this game, he's done for the rest of the year.
Got to get after the quarterback, man. You
can't.
That was the problem. That was the problem in the first half, right? Stafford's a great quarterback, but if you're getting pressure, I don't care who you are. If you're in the NFL and you're getting that much time to throw, I don't care if it's Goff or Stafford, I don't care if it's Hurts or Mayfield, I don't care if it's Purdy or whoever, they're going to pick you apart. You can't cover that long. You have to get pressure. And I would prefer the pressure from the inside. That's why I like how they move Hutchinson around a little bit. I would prefer getting it in your face. If you get it from the edge and they can step up in the pocket, that's a little bit of a different situation. I think those guys can pick you apart still from that situation. I would like more pressure from up the middle. But listen, James Houston off the edge, Hutchinson off the other edge, sometimes stunting and things of that nature. That's the ideal situation for the Lions going in against, I don't care if it's Tampa or San Francisco or Green Bay. That's what you need.
Well, I think that you got to take advantage of this Baker Mayfield, and he's banged up a little bit, and you got to get pressure on him and get him off his spot. You nailed it. That first half of the game, right? I mentioned Goff's protected numbers, 22 for 22. Stafford's the same thing. Both of them were slinging it because they were getting protected, right? It's who's going to make everybody uncomfortable. Again, I am not going to let Baker Mayfield end my playoff dreams. That's it. Bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mentality that you get. There's no way this guy, right? And I like Baker, but I just no.
Well, wouldn't you say the same thing about Jordan Love and
no?
Brock
I'm more
Purdy?
worried about Jordan Love. Jordan Love's turned himself into a hell of a quarterback, and he's one of the guys that next year, like this, slowly but surely, depending on what Chicago does, either with Justin Fields or what we were talking about before, they might keep Fields and trade Caleb Williams or trade that number one. With all the money they have, this NFC North is going to be the division in football in the next couple of years. I believe. I think, to me, Jordan Love, and he had some hiccups during the season, but he's good, man. He's good.
I do too.
I'm more worried about him.
Jordan
right?
Love?
And I'd be more worried about Brock Purdy, right, to whatever else.
You'd be more worried about Jordan Love
and Mayfield, bro.
You'd be more worried about Jordan Love in Green Bay than Brock Purdy in San Francisco?
Not the quarterback.
Wow.
Not that, no. I'd be more worried about Jordan Love, the quarterback, not Brock Purdy and his team around him and his Kyle Shanahan and what he's insulated with. But one-on-one, I'm taking Jordan Love. I'm taking Jordan Love over a lot of guys.
Wow.
Honestly, he's probably number 4 or 5 of my quarterbacks in this league.
Jordan Love's the 5th best quarterback in the league?
No, mine.
Yours, yeah.
The guys that I would take. Younger, moving forward, or what you got you got Jordan Love, you look like CJ Stroud. I don't believe in Justin Fields like everybody else does, so I'm interested in seeing.
Oh, you're just talking about young quarterbacks.
I'm talking about young. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about Patrick Mahomes and all the lists that everybody else has that never changes it.
Okay.
I'm talking about guys that are legit.
I don't know if people don't change it. I think they're constantly changing it. That's part of the issue. I mean,
no, it's Mahomes and Allen and
rightfully so.
Lamar and I'll tell you this. I'll take Jordan Love over Dakota Rain. I mean, he's better. Dude, do you understand what's going on with and CJ Stroud and there's some great young quarterbacks in this league that are going to be around for a while.
Look, I don't disagree with you, but I always pump the brakes on coming to a conclusion on a player too soon if they struggle or if they're successful.
Right, and what has Jordan Love done? Both.
But for me, he just hasn't done it long enough.
No, that's fair. I guess,
all.
Shep, here's the thing. Yes, there it is. Your cooking time for this is a lot longer than mine. I was just saying, it took me, here's the thing, right? I was one of the last ones to the Jalen Hurts party. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I still think he's a good quarterback, but there's something wrong, organizationally wrong, communication wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
No, look. All the things you're saying are fair because Jordan Love, I believe he was second in the league in touchdown passes to Dak Prescott, and I think it was 32. Only had 11 picks. That's pretty damn good.
And here's the one thing where you watch him and I put him and CJ Stroud. They get better. He's smart. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He fits into that. Green Bay, he looks like a Green Bay quarterback.
He does.
It back there.
You're absolutely right. There are certain positions in certain teams, and even college programs too, where you look at him, you're like, okay, I can see why that team wanted him, right? Way back in the day, Miami of Florida used to have quarterback after quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. Penn State used to have linebacker after linebacker
and
after
running back.
linebacker.
Florida and a running back. Guys who were drafted, right?
And
wide receiver at Alabama.
Yeah, you target certain players for your team based on if it's the GM or the coach,
Right.
they want a certain kind of guy.
You need a linebacker? Who's the linebacker over at Alabama right now,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Right.
Where do you look first?
Who's the next
right?
Will
Like,
Anderson? Right. Yeah, exactly right. So I thought that was, I think that's a fair point. I mean, I think Jordan Love's really good, and I think that's an interesting perspective that you're looking at it from. This could be the division to beat moving forward. Now, the AFC East, with if you believe in the combination of Hill and Tagovailoa with Josh Allen in Buffalo, pretty damn good. Obviously, Cincinnati, when Joe Burrow is healthy, Cleveland's defense should keep them competitive. And, of course,
what happened to them last week?
I know. They got smoked. And then you look at Baltimore and what they've been able to do. And I'm a big believer in Mike Tomlin. I think he's a hell of a football coach. So I think Pittsburgh's
never had a losing season.
Yeah.
17 years.
17 years, not a below 500 season.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah. And look what he did it with this year.
Mm-hmm.
And look what he did it with this year.
Like I wasn't a huge fan of the draft of Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I mean, my philosophy, not that anybody is looking at me to draft a team, but I don't take a quarterback for the sake of taking a quarterback. You want to take him later in a draft? I get it. I'm not burning a first-round pick on a quarterback just because I need a quarterback. He better be good. He better be ready. He better be a guy who's going to contribute pretty quickly. I think Kenny Pickett, I don't think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I want my first-round picks in the NFL or any sport to play right away. Baseball, it's not going to happen. Hockey, it's probably not going to happen either. But I want them to contribute right away.
The head scratches, he came out of the University of Pittsburgh, and Mike Tomlin would have the most access to him watching him, and the fact that it didn't work out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you know what always works out, Spenny? Big Boy.
Big Boy always
Tell them about my
works
favorites.
Out. Big
See,
Boy always
you
works
are.
out. You got comfort foods at Big Boy.
Thanks a lot.
You got the veal parmesan and the new Southern Comfort chicken bowl. How about breakfast? The stuffed potato pancakes are back. They got the lumberjack Santa Fe Garden, or D-Mac's favorites, the apple pie hotcakes.
Oh, we got to start with that one.
And of course,
wash it down.
Wash it down with a gingerbread shake for
gingerbread
dessert.
Shakes.
They got all of that and more at Big Boy. Make sure you stop by our local Big Boy for some comfort foods.
God. Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles, and with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Just in time for football, Glorious Cannabis is dropping a new ice water bubble hash infused pre-roll called Honolulu Blue. It smells so good. It is, trust me, just like the first win we had in 31 years on Sunday. A gassy, aggressive strain named in honor of Detroit football. If you haven't had one of these ice water pre-rolls, you're missing out. They're so smooth. They're great in the victory post Kool-Aid full show. Find them at Dispo Dispenser for 25% off. Code Woodward Glorious, or go to www.gloriouscanna2ns.com. Happy Tuesday. Big D Energy, D-Mac. Matt Shepard in for Neil Rule. He'll be back tomorrow. Little travel issues in this cold. Spenmo Racks and BMG also here. Just talking about football and winning, and what a great time to be a sports fan let alone a football fan in the state of Michigan.
Unless you don't have the money to go to the game.
You don't need to go to the game. You can pick up the watch party.
Have you seen the prices of tickets for this coming weekend?
Lowest one's like $650, I think. Upper bowl.
I'm reading like $1,000 to $2,000.
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
I mean,
second market price or whatever like that. So, I mean, I guess that would suck if you want to be there.
Well, yeah.
This is what it's all about. But if you're not, tune into the Woodward Sports live stream. We have a great time.
Great time.
I like my seat for that one.
Well, here's the thing that I always worry about. Teams come into their stadiums and they get the diehards, the guys and gals who have been supporting them for their entire lives and putting things aside, making sacrifices to buy the tickets. And then when the team gets good and the postseason comes along, that fan base is priced out. And I hope that's not the case. I don't know that to be the case, so I'm not going to say this is exactly what's happening here. That's why I say I used it in a more generic term. I worry about that.
How about the devil's advocate?
Go ahead.
How about the person that's stuck through it all this time, but then realizes that they could sell their tickets for one game and pay for their whole season or whatever?
That's a good point.
I mean, there was a lot of that conversation going on. If you're a season ticket holder, would you have sold your first round tickets and thinking that they were going to win to go to the second round or go to the first round? You had that experience, you had that win. Now, if you've been there and you don't want to, put up with this, you could sell them off. Yeah. I think it's a great capitalist position to be in. But again, it ain't cheap. We know one thing for sure: no matter what the price, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to pay it. And that place is going to be full, and it's going to be loud, and So I guess there's both ways to it. The regular.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Back in LCA, I mean, always sold out, even regular season stuff. But when we started winning playoffs and I couldn't get a ticket.
Yeah.
For friends or family, there was no tickets to be had.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
that's a good way to look at it. I like that. I appreciate that perspective. Here's the other thing. This time of year, I don't know how the NFL changes it. So I don't have a solution to this. So I really shouldn't be complaining about it, but I'm going to anyway.
Okay.
The Lions coordinators are in demand, might be a strong word, but I'll use it anyway. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are looking at head coaching opportunities, and rightfully so. I mean, they've been very successful. They are at least in that conversation. They should be in the conversation. But they're using or have to use this week's window to do that. And I don't question their work ethic or their preparation or their commitment by any stretch. But it does put a lot of weight on their proverbial shoulders to try and get ready for Tampa and a second-round playoff game while still interviewing and being as prepared as you possibly can when you walk into an owner or a general manager's office and say, this is why you should hire me once my team is done.
But isn't this the great, this is one of the things that the aloofness or the lack of self-awareness of the NFL that don't give a shit? They don't care. They operate like Mortal Engines, the London. If you haven't seen Mortal Engine, it's like the city and it travels, right? The NFL, they're aloof. They'll run over whatever, to whatever. Because here's the thing, and you can't. Everybody's different, but wouldn't you? Here's my, and I know you can't, especially if you want to get to the next level. But shouldn't it be one of those things that Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn just? Sorry, not this week, not until we're done. I can say that. And you know what? If that cost me that interview or that job, then it wasn't meant to be in the first place.
Oh, the meant to be stuff. Come on.
No,
What do you mean it wasn't meant to be?
If
got
the team
interviews
is not going to interview me because I'm going to make my playoff team that I work for right now a priority during this week, and you can't wait till I'm done, then I don't want to be a part of your team, because that's what I mean. Then I'm not a priority. Because if you want the best coach, then I would say you want that interview no matter what. And if I would respect that coming that, this guy has loyalty and knows job at hand instead of next big paycheck.
Right. So you're going to wait. You're going to wait for me. I get it. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you're going to wait for this goddamn NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't care
what it is. You would expect the same from me,
if
right?
you need me now, then obviously, that's a red flag to me.
Yeah.
And I think that as a commodity, and I know there's interviews going on, but get your interviews with everybody who's done out of the way. Wasn't there 4 teams that just got kicked, that just lost this weekend? Aren't there coaches on, the Cowboys and all that? Go do that. As you lose, then you should do the
right.
And if I was Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn, I tell it, so what? Because you know what, Shep? Then the narrative, I could tell you, why didn't you interview for them? Because I told them no during the playoff week.
Exactly.
And where does that? So that's not going to happen.
That should put you in
out a way.
That should put you in a more positive light. I'm with you, man.
And a lot of times too, I question when a guy does that. And it's different when the NFL puts their foot down. You don't do it, you're going to get fined or whatever. Like that when they play hardball. But it's another one when you see a guy make it a priority to leave while they're on the clock with another team, especially in the playoffs. I'd rather you do it in week 18 if you have it locked up. I would rather that.
Yeah,
you're going to rest players, rest coaches.
Exactly. That's a great point. Yeah. Now, look, I think Ben Johnson's got interviews with Atlanta, Carolina, the Chargers. What am I missing? Washington, and I think there's one more. Tennessee. Tennessee.
So the only team there, Carolina, that would be with their owner, that would be aloof and say it's got to be now, my way or the highway, which Ben Johnson, I would advise you don't want that shit show anyways.
Yeah, he already turned that. Remember, he turned that down already last year.
Seem
he
like
was their number one choice last year.
Run to the fact that we understand that respectfully, and you don't do it like I'm coaching. It's like respectfully. This is my priority. I will give. I'll tell you this. If I'm your head coach, I give you the same exact commitment. I think that's way more important. Plus, a lot of these teams already, Shep, know which way. Isn't this just like the interview or whatever process to meet the Rooney Rule and all this other BS that they don't really abide by, anyways?
Well, the Rooney Rule has to do with probably more, minority
you have to interview
candidates.
guys unless you're New England.
Minority candidates.
Okay. I get it, but in saying that, there's a lot of minority candidates that deserve to be interviewed that aren't working this week. Go interview them. Get that out of the way.
Right. I get it. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I just think it would be very difficult. Those preparing for an interview is hard in general, number one. But, if you really want the job. But number two, as a coach, going in, talking about your philosophy, how you would look at a roster, how you would adjust that roster, how you would relate to the players, how you would relate to the community, who would make up your staff, all those things. When you've got to do that for, in Ben Johnson's case, 5 different teams.
No.
Would really,
I'm
really
saying no because I got to spend that time on my 3rd and 11 play to the fact that if I got to execute that, I got no time, nothing in my brain. I'm all about Detroit Lions. And if you don't respect that, I would think that I don't want to be a part of your organization because then we're starting off on the wrong foot to begin with.
Yeah. Aaron Glenn, by the way, I believe has interviews with all those teams but the Chargers. So he has 4.
Spenny.
That's. I think that's a good thing. I mean, if people want your coaches, that tells you something about where your team is at.
Absolutely. We see it. It's the way it's cyclical. But how hard was it before we go to break? How hard would it be for the NFL just to come out and say, you know what, no interviews until season's over,
or until the week between the
the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship
and the championship games, yeah.
Now,
what would be wrong with that? Because you get 2 weeks, so why not?
So, and you put 3 days, right? The first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, could be interview days. You try to make it fair. Aren't you trying to look out for the best interest of your game, too, so you give your guys preparation?
Yeah, I would hope so.
And I think with 2 weeks, your coaches, right, that are getting interviewed, so they're responsible to begin with, would know when they would have to focus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we should call that the Matt Shepard rule.
Well, you're the one who came up with the date, so I'd give it to your rule.
All right. The D-Max Shepard rule.
Okay.
There it is.
We'll do
NFL.
that. We'll do that.
One of the other rules, you know what it is. If you need things protected, go to Guardian Alarm. It's the new year. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts, professional technicians that take the time to recommend security and automated solutions specific to your needs. But I need you to call Guardian Alarm today. The number, 1-800.
Stay out.
24/7 professional monitoring, call anytime, day or night. Know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as it's needed. But I need you to call the number, 1-800.
Stay out.
Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserve technology that's been proven to work, and people have been proven to care. Business, personal. Guardian Alarm don't care. They just want you to call the number, 1-800.
Stay out. Stay out of the end zone, Baker Mayfield.
Stay on the end zone, Baker Mayfield. Yeah, all day. We're not letting you beat us. Oh, sure. Guardian Alarm Local Security Expert, Sound Big Energy. We sent you.
Woodward Sports own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off the press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White and Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
What happens when you run a great business for over 50 years? Well, you expand. You offer more products to more people. This is exactly what Les Stanford did by adding Les Stanford Buick GMC. The same great service that customers have come to know and trust. On Woodward Ave, just south of 9 Mile. Check out Les Stanford in Dearborn today. Find the brand you want, lesstanford.com. Cruising through here. Big D Energy, Matt Shepard and for Neil Rule. Neil will be back tomorrow. The weather got him. I mean, I think we're going to find out, but they were celebrating that Pistons victory a little bit hard, him and George, I think. Blaha. Right? Hey, you know, Sparty Dog had Neil out there probably in the streets. But he'll be back tomorrow. BMG, spend more racks, as always.
That's
we're just
4 wins for the Pistons. 4, man.
Detroit loving. Detroit versus everybody. Holla at Drew says you bet it. I don't know who said it, but yeah, all about the D, especially right now.
Somebody else said 34-10 Lions in their win over Tampa. I like that score. I like that. I could see that. I don't care if it's 1 point or 24 points, but I think that's a pretty good score there.
We started out the show, and you go back on Woodward Sports to rewind and check it out. But you said that you expect this game not to be close.
Correct.
I mean, I honestly, I like that 10 number for them, and I like 27-10. But a game where we know what we have to do, full control. Again, I'm gonna say it over. I'm not letting Baker Mayfield end my season.
Right. As long as Detroit doesn't turn it over, I just don't see a path to Tampa winning. You had mentioned the Pistons winning yesterday. Their 4th. Red Wings have won a couple in a row after beating Toronto in Toronto. They're in Florida tomorrow. Okay, so they take on the Panthers tomorrow night. And they have won, what?
5 of 6,
11, 6 or 7 or something like that? Okay.
Points in all the last 6 games, starting on the West Coast.
That's impressive.
Which we mentioned in here, right? What I say, this next 10 games when they started the West Coast trip. Then they're 5-0-1 on this trip. They just got 4 games left. But this was going to make or break. And if you look at the standings, Michael, where does this still put them getting all these points? In the wild, but right in the heat. And in the East, if you don't know, there's 6 teams fighting for 2 spots. And it's going to be nip and tuck. So doesn't get any easier. You got to go into Tampa Bay.
Mike, D-Mac, would that tell you that they need to make a move at the trade deadline?
You're muted.
You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry.
There we go.
My bad. I certainly think they'll figure out something with the goaltending situation. Obviously, you're not going to roll for 3 goalies for much longer once Husso does get back, and he's working his way towards there. But I could see adding another defenseman and maybe another goal-scoring forward to just add on the bottom 6. I think if you're going to make the playoff push, there's definitely moves to be made. It's just really what Steve values more than the other. But I think goaltending, obviously, that situation will get itself figured out.
Yeah, the defenseman's big.
I just don't think that goalie's there. Right, for the asking price or whatever, that everybody needs it or whatever. So shout out to Alex Lyon, who's going to carry the load as long as he can. Now, this is a guy that proved it on going on a playoff run with Florida last year and stuff. So what he's doing, it's the confidence, and the team plays better in front of him. I think you're right, Mikey, as far as this is a bye year. I think if you're close and you continue to stay in this, nobody works the phones harder than that. And I just always laugh because if you're a GM, do you want 313 coming up on your phone? And no, because you know that at the end of the day, he's going to find out a way to get what he wants.
Yeah.
If it's out there. So I think that, Mikey, if you're going to add, you might look at a couple of veteran guys, but you're not going to, the one thing is you're not going to hinder the progress that you've made and the building to go for whatever. It ain't a go for it year.
Yeah, he's not a guy who, it doesn't seem to me.
He's not a gambler, bro.
I don't think he's going to deviate from his plan, even though this window is here. I say this all the time about the Wings. When people used to say, they made the playoffs 25 straight years, but so what, man? We got to tear it down. I said, it's going to get ugly. It's hard. It's super hard to tear something down and build it back up quickly. And now people are a little, well, let's go all in. No, he's going to stay to his beliefs, stick to his plan. If he can add something without surrendering something that he feels is a vital piece, then I assume he'll do it. That's just my belief.
100%. Look at what he did with Patrick Kane. Look at what he did with DeBrincat.
Yeah.
And stuff. It's Shep. It's called the hashtag Wiser plan for a reason.
Yeah.
It's his.
Yeah.
1919.
Yeah.
It's his. And he won't deviate no matter what.
Kane's been great too, man. I mean, he's been even better than I thought he would.
Yeah, but it wasn't it like everything else? He could score, and he was going to score, and he was going to play like this if he was healthy. And I think he's healthy, and he's only going to get better. And the biggest thing, what I love, is what he's doing, and you have the gives with the takes, right? People say, well, like defensive. No, puts the puck in the net, especially when. Most crucial times in the shootout.
Right.
How many games has he finished off in the shootout and stuff like that? So you cannot be happier with what Patrick Kane, and not only like just endeared and come in and been a Red Wing, been a soldier, been a guy like in the past that's had credentials, had success other places, but yet come here to bring that knowledge and experience to help this team. And he wants to win as much as anybody else. Yeah, I think he's having fun.
It seems like it. It's hilarious when people will say, yeah, but he doesn't play defense. Did you ever – that's not the reason they got him. I know you want guys to play 200 feet. I know you guys want guys at both ends of the ice. I understand that. But when he signed here and you were giddy as a school kid, don't tell me you said, I got to tell you, man, I'm a little worried about his defense. This team needed scoring desperately, and they got it in the form of DeBrincat and Kane.
Here's the one thing, right? What was the draft? What is one thing? We can score with the rest of the league. We can put pucks in the net. If we get into the shoot, the thing is, can we commit and keep it out of the net? Mm-hmm. This last little run has proven more of a commitment to the defensive side. Mm-hmm. And who does it start with? It's got to start with your leader. Everybody follows suit. But to that point, if I'm in the locker room, if the grind line's in the locker room, we're telling PK, go out and do your thing. we'll make sure we shut down on the back end. So it's other guys stepping up if he's doing his job that way.
Yeah, love it. There's one other piece of news besides the Lions' euphoria that I think some people might be like, whoa, maybe didn't see that coming. They might have expected it. But Michigan's going to lose J.J. McCarthy. All right? He's going to the NFL. Personally, it's not surprising, although I think he would have benefited greatly from another year. How do you guys view him at the next level?
Well, I think the first thing with him declaring, does that mean Harbaugh's leaving?
I think so.
Is there writing on the wall where if Harbaugh was coming back, that he'd come back?
That's me speculating, but I would agree. I would say
and that's all we can do is speculate.
I think JJ comes back.
Yeah, I think so.
Right? To me, it's one of those things that, okay, we're going to move on. Yeah, maybe professionally. And if he did come back, I think he would only raise his stock. So, obviously, Shep, you know how these things work. He's probably talking to an agent and probably telling him he's going to be, a late first rounder or something like that. Well, what are they telling him?
Probably second round.
To me,
he could be a late first.
That he's being told he's going to be a first-round draft pick.
Late. I would probably late first to mid-second.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, he could actually go to a situation where, as long as it's not behind a young quarterback, he could go to a situation where there's a veteran quarterback and learn for 2 years, and then kind of slide his way into competing for a starting spot. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't know if Harbaugh comes back, he comes back. I'm not sold on that, and here's the reason why. Either way, he's gone after next year. Yeah. Either way, they lose a slew of talent and have to, quote-unquote, in the college football ranks, rebuild. So either way, it was just going to be one more year with Jim Harbaugh. What difference does that make to him? I think it's all about whether or not what the scouts or what his agents or what those who are profiling quarterbacks are telling him. This is where you're going to go. I don't think it matters if Jim Harbaugh is coming back and somebody said you're going to be a late first round pick. I still think he's going. That's all.
That's fair. What about Dispo, D-Mac?
Yeah, exactly. Remind me, I got a question about this when we come back.
Okay, you're writing it down, so that's good.
Absolutely. Dispo Dispensary. What can I say? Start the year lifted. Visit Dispo Dispensary today for exclusive deals. Experience Dispo Dispensary team that curates an unbelievable atmosphere with fresh inventory from Michigan's largest variety of products. Come through our stores or order on Dispo Dash today. New year, new deals, same plug. Dispo Dispensary, DispoShops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Lions fans, it's a moment we've been waiting for. We got to experience it. Yes, the first playoff game, and you're like Spenny and a ton of the others. They were down at Bullseye Event Group. Spenny, how was the pregame at Bullseye Event Group?
It was awesome. Great food, great drinks, great environment, a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So if you want to be part of another great tailgate, yes, this Sunday afternoon, sponsored, of course, by Spenny's favorite. How many long drinks did you have?
At least 5.
5 long drinks. You can have them too. Cue music, excitement, everything else. Another chance to witness history. Let's roar together. Where is it, Spenny? Eastern Market?
Shed number 5.
Shed number 5. Probably get off, off the ground around noon.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there tonight.
This weekend,
for
the
sure.
boys will be all there. If you want to attend to BullsEyeEventGroup.com, get your tickets today.
Man, but they had these soup-wees, like the soup-wee, little balls, and honey mustard. They had the chili cheese tater tots. They had these honey barbecue chicken with mashed potatoes. Oh,
all right.
So
you know what? Here's what. I'm convinced he's doing it on purpose. I swear to God.
Yeah. Oh, are you hungry, Shep?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I am hungry.
And he's
for
run
that
the
stuff.
gamut, too,
Such
right?
bull crap, man.
From everything else. Real quick, Matt Shepard.
I get pissed off when it comes to my food, man.
Matt.
I really want food. I mean, I really get pissed off about that.
That's all right. We can get you a nice muffin Birmingham roast on the way out. My quick question here on J.J. McCarthy declaring for the draft.
Yeah.
Like you said, if he's speculated late first round, is this because in the late first round, who picks in the late first round? The playoff teams. The fact that teams that have a quarterback already in play. Is this one of these moves that maybe expects to go to an organization to exactly what you said, that he can nurture behind a guy? Or
it's a playoff team that doesn't have a quarterback in place. Pittsburgh. I'm just putting that out there.
Do they go from Kenny Pickett to J.J. McCarthy?
I don't think they would.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think that you want somebody
like
that's not an ideal situation, because he needs to go behind. Like, what about a Baltimore? Behind Lamar, or some place more established.
I was thinking the Rams, but yeah, okay, yeah,
the Rams. There's
I mean, something like that.
Something like that. So time will tell. But that was the one thing that piqued my interest.
Hell, I mean, even the team like Tampa. Okay,
yeah.
It goes back to it's nauseating sometimes when I always talk about this, but it goes back to there's just not that many good quarterbacks out there. There just really aren't. I mean, I don't think there's. I was having this debate with one of my sons earlier. I said, there's not one guy in this draft as a quarterback where I'd go, got to have him, I'm going to move up. Okay? I don't care if it's Caleb Williams. I don't care if it's Drake May. I don't care if it's J.J. McCarthy. I don't care. There's not one guy I'm going, got to have him. It's been a long time since a quarterback came out and I said, that's the guy I would want to build.
Come to mind, one of the last.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit yesterday. I mean, it's like even C.J. Stroud, for as good as he is, and he's hands down Rookie of the Year. Last year, I would not have been a general manager that said I'm going to move heaven and earth to get him. That's all. And if I'm wrong, then so be it. So there's very few quarterbacks, I think. When guys aren't doing that for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who played at Cal. Who's the guy coming out this year that makes you go, oh, man, come on? I mean, think about it. Who's the last quarterback you saw play at the collegiate level and you said, for sure, he's the guy? Like, I thought that of Stafford at Georgia, for sure. I'm trying to think. Joe Burrow, probably.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. Yeah.
But again,
I think those two guys are
look at those struggles.
They're exceptional.
Yeah. To be what it is. And look at even the greatest in the game now. Spent some time.
Yeah.
Right? Learning Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Wasn't would he go 12th or whatever like that? That's where it looks at it. It'll be interesting because, like you said, what do these teams do that don't have a quarterback?
Yeah.
Are they going to make a trade? Is Chicago? I mean, there's so much interesting stuff, and the best part. We sit here and go, we got Brad Holmes. Who cares?
Well, not just that. It's when's the last time at this time
Andrew
of the year
Luck,
we weren't talking about mock drafts.
Never in my life.
Right. Like we don't even care about them right now. Yeah. I mean, are you even clicking on them to see? The Lions would be picked. Where would the Lions be picking? In 29, 28, 30th, somewhere along there. We don't know yet because it hasn't played out. But they're going to be pretty low. And you're going to be thinking, okay, this is where I choose a defensive tackle. This is where I choose an offensive guard or something like that. You don't feel like you got to have that direct impact big name guy because you got him at wide receiver, you got him at running back, you feel like you got him to a certain extent at quarterback. So It's a great feeling to have. You don't have to worry about that stuff. In the past, it was like, oh, man, I tell you what, we really need a quarterback. I would move this guy. There's no scenario like that. We're talking about football games on the field, not football games in the boardroom. That's a really cool feeling.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're legit.
Yeah.
Legit, real team. And that'll be a legit, another Big D energy in the books.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us,
Enjoyed
everybody.
It, buddy. Thank you, man.
Neil will be back tomorrow. Matt, always an absolute pleasure.
See you, brother.
We get a chance to chop it up. BMG, spend more racks. We will see you tomorrow. Everybody out in the chat, have a good day.
Yeah,
we will
thanks
see
for
you
listening
tomorrow.
and watching.
Deuces.